Hi, you guys. So, we're going to do a different kind of story time today. We're going to continue with The Dragon's Child by Jenny Nimmo, as I've been getting a lot of requests. But instead of you guys watching me read, I thought you would enjoy this. This is a little butterfly that actually hatched in our backyard, and we've named him Dusty. He had a parasite in his in his cocoon, so his wings never unfurled. But he's been living in our backyard for a week. He's been eating our nasturtiums, which are the flowers behind us. So I just figured you would enjoy watching a little outdoor action while we read the prisoner chapter. So, the prisoner. When the bird saw the dragon and her child soar into the sky, she flew after them. She didn't want to be left alone. She had almost caught up with the great flying dragon when, to her horror, she saw the child slip from his mother's back and fall towards the ground. The big dragon hadn't seemed to notice. "Your child is gone!" shrieked the bird, but she couldn't get close enough to be heard. The swirl of air around the dragon's huge wings beat her back. "I can't leave the little dragon all alone," thought the bird. "Something terrible could happen to him. Doggons are creeping through the forest, and the strangers on the sea are getting closer." So the bird turned back and flew over the stretched bushes where she had seen the little dragon fall. "Dragon's child," she called. "Dragon's child, are you hurt?" Fortunately, the bushes had softened the little dragon's fall, and although he was bruised and dizzy, he wasn't injured. "Is my mother coming back?" he asked. The bird flew down and perched beside him. "I don't think she knows that you fell," she said gently. "Maybe she won't find out until the end of her journey." "Oh," wailed the little dragon. "I won't leave you," the bird said. "I know what it's like to be alone. You just try and stay hidden until dark, for the creatures on the water are heading this way, and who knows what they may do." The little dragon shuddered. "My mother called them humans," he said, and crept deeper into the bushes, screwing his eyes up tight against the things that would crawl out of the sea. He had never felt so frightened or alone. And here's some pictures, my friends. Though I'm having a hard time with this. There we go. The bird flew up to the highest point on the cliffs and watched the mysterious craft before it reached the beach and stopped moving, and the creatures inside leapt into the sea. They were very noisy, these humans. They shouted and splashed through the water in a clumsy and untidy way. When they ran onto the beach, they kicked at the sand and jostled one another. They wore gleaming jackets of ribbed metal, and beneath their silvery helmets their thick white hair hung in long braided tails. All except one, who was capless and dressed in scarlet. She was much smaller than the others, yet the bundle she carried was so heavy it caused her to stumble and sway. A woman with a wide, stern face kept barking orders at her, and the girl frowned with the effort of trying to keep up. The band of humans began to climb the cliff, never guessing that dragons' tails had swept the path they walked, or that a dragon was hiding so close. When they reached the top, they swarmed over the bushes, making for the edge of the forest where they would build a new town. The bird flew this way and that, trying to lead the humans away from the place where the little dragon was hiding, but the humans took no notice. Only the girl dress Only the girl guessed what the bird was doing, and she kept her eye on the ground, looking for a nest or a clutch of eggs. When the woman she followed stopped for a moment's rest, the girl found herself gazing into the shadows beneath a patch of leaves, and there she made out the shape of a small curled up creature. At that moment the dragon's child raised his head, and his gleaming yellow gold eyes found hers. The girl suddenly felt such an intense happiness she couldn't stop herself from smiling. She had never seen a dragon, but from her father's descriptions, she knew immediately what she was looking at one. She also knew that she must keep the secret to herself. Were mysterious and sacred creatures. They must never be allowed to fall into the hands of an enemy. And these big, white haired people who had taken her prisoner were everybody's enemies. "Manon, what are you gazing at?" shouted a stern faced woman. Her name was Lady Bulda, and she was the wife of Great Smold, leader of the Welkin people, so she thought herself very important. "Nothing, Lady Bulda." Manon turned her smile into a stupid grin, and no one guessed that she had seen something wonderful, even when she began to hum the tune Her family used to sing on days of celebration. But a boy named Lord Drum didn't like Manin's humming. Around his neck he wore a big tin drum hanging by a cord, and all day long he would beat the tin with two wooden sticks. The welcome people were not musical, but no one told Lord Drum to stop. No one seemed to mind. Besides, he was Great Smold's only son. The boy came leaping up behind Manin. I don't like the sound you're making, he shouted. Too bad, said Manin under her breath. What's that? What are you saying? Manon had learned Lord Drum's language, but he couldn't understand hers. I said, I'm sorry. Sorry, Lord Drum. He stared at her suspiciously. Was she teasing him? He couldn't tell. They were the only children in the group, but they couldn't play together. Manon was a prisoner, and he was Lord Drum, son of Great Smold. He wandered away. Boom, boom, rat-a-tat, boom, went the big tin drum. When he was out of earshot, Manon began to hum again. She couldn't help it. She felt sure the dragon was a lucky omen. That evening, Lady Bolda sent Manon to gather twigs from the forest. Alone among the giant trees, Manon's excitement bubbled up and spilled out in joyful singing. The bird circling above the trees was astonished to hear the girl with a sad face making such happy sounds, and Lord Drum, hiding on the edge of the forest, wondered what had happened to make the little prisoner suddenly feel so cheerful. Deep in the trees, other creatures heard Manon singing, creatures with coarse gray hair and long, tough tails, creatures that hated singing, but they crept closer, thinking that the singing thing might be good to eat. When Manon had collected an armful of twigs, she laid them on the bonfire. A camp had already begun to take the shape around the fire. The dwellings were flimsy shelters made with metal frames and silky, shiny cloth. But tomorrow the real building would take place, and Manon sighed, thinking of the boulder she would have to carry up from the beach. The people had found plenty of food to roast. Rabbits, fish, and seabirds were turning on the spit. Manon sat on the edge of the circle, waiting for Lady Bolda to throw her a few scraps. The long journey had made her very hungry, and it was all she could do to stop herself from rushing in and grabbing at food like the others. The fire threw glittering sparks into the black sky, and Manon watched them cascade back to earth like falling stars. Long before they touched the bush, the damp night winds had blown them out. Only two sparks still glowed like tiny round lamps. The dragon's child had caught scent of the food and, desperately hungry, he had come closer to the campfire. Dragon, go away, whispered Manon. There's danger here. Go, quickly, before they catch you. What are you saying? Hissed Lord Drum. And who are you talking to? Tell me, or you won't get any food. I'm talking to myself, said Manon. I don't believe you. He pushed his face close to hers. I think you've got a little pet hidden somewhere. If you have, it had better watch out, because I shall catch it. And that's the end of the chapter. We'll see you next time.